Hey there, history buffs. Ever wondered about the ancient Hebrews who lived on the Iberian Peninsula? That's right. Today we're diving into the fascinating world of the Hebrews in Spain and Portugal, or as they were known, the Hiberus. First off, let's take a look at the Apostle Paul's letters. In Romans 15:28, Paul writes, "When therefore I have performed this, and have sealed to them this fruit, I will come by you into Spain." And earlier in Romans 15:24 he mentions, "Whensoever I take my journey into Spain, I will come to you, for I trust to see you in my journey, and to be brought on my way thitherward by you, if first I be somewhat filled with your company." So what does this tell us? Paul knew about a Hebrew presence in Spain. This wasn't just a passing mention, it suggests a significant community already established there. Now, let's rewind even further. The Hebrews were said to have arrived on the Iberian Peninsula long before the Greek and Roman empires. According to historical accounts, they settled there following the Babylonian invasion of Jerusalem. That's around the 6th century BCE. Can you imagine? These ancient Hebrews were in Iberia for centuries, developing their own unique culture and traditions. It's interesting to note that the name Hiberia closely resembles Hebrew, not a mere coincidence. Right? Scholars believe this reflects the profound influence the Hebrews had on the region. Their presence was so significant that it even impacted the name of the land. These Hebrews, the Hiberus, contributed to the rich tapestry of cultures in Iberia. From their religious practices to their daily lives, they left an indelible mark on the history of Spain and Portugal. So, why is this important? Understanding the Hebrews of Iberia helps us appreciate the diverse historical threads that weave together to form our shared human history. It shows us how interconnected our pasts truly are. Next time you think of Spain and Portugal, remember the ancient Hebrews who once called it home. They were pioneers in their own right, navigating new lands and creating a legacy that still echoes today. All right, history buffs, that's it for today's deep dive into the ancient Hebrews of Iberia. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more historical adventures. Until next time, keep exploring the past.
Yes, Neo. Would you like to know what the Matrix is? Welcome, family, to another edition of Stranger Thinking Media, where we bring you the gospel of Yahushua HaMashiach, and to address the problems of this modern world. So stay tuned. We have an awesome show for you today. Kick back, you might learn something. The Apostle Paul's letters to the Iberians, Unveiling Ancient Connections. Paul's Iberian ambitions, Hebrews in Iberia, Roman eyes on Iberia. Echoes of Paul in Iberia, unwritten chapters, unfolding history, and the grand finale. Welcome to our channel. Please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And most of all, enjoy the show. 2nd Ezra chapter 13, verse 41. But they took this counsel among themselves that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt, that they might there keep their statutes which they never kept in their own land. And where might this place be? It's called Arsareth. But is it an actual place? Where did they go? Well, we're going to delve into that here in a minute. What we're going to try to do is uncover the hidden secrets of the Apostle Paul's mysterious journey to Iberia. Well, in the scriptures, it's called Spain, right? But it's Iberia, and that's what the Romans called it, Iberia, and they also called it Hispania, you know. But here you have, and I want to emphasize a couple things here. Here you have a Roman citizen, Paul. So Paul is viewing things both as a Hebrew and as a Roman. And he's writing letters to his people in Spain or Iberia. And as we talked about in the previous two videos, Iberia being a derivative word meaning Hebrew. And how do I figure that out? Well, the Hebrew word for Hebrew is Iber, Iberia, right? So we're going to look at that, and we're gonna realize that, hey, not only is this land called Iber or Iberia, it's just got a substantial population of Hebrews there that have been there before the Romans got there or the Greeks. And how did they get there? Well, history tells us, according to their own reckoning, they say they got there after the Babylonian captivity. That either they were brought there by the Babylonians or they were escaping from there to try to get away from the Babylonians. It's either or, one way or the other. But there was a huge Hebrew, we colloquially call it Jewish or Jew, but that doesn't mean the term Jew started becoming kind of generic, because it could have been Jews and Israelites there. But anybody keeping the Sabbath and the holy days and Torah was generally and colloquially called Jews. But I'll say Hebrew because that clarifies a little bit. Here are Hebrews who keep the statutes of the Most High Yahweh living in Iberia long before the Romans get there, right? And so we're going to talk about this Roman citizen, the Apostle Paul, who's also a Hebrew. And he knows of this community in Iberia. It's like matter of fact. Yeah. My people are there. And you have to understand who Paul is looking for to fulfill that prophecy about the rejoining of the two sticks. One stick was Judah, one stick was Israel, bringing them together again under one, essentially like one banner. And that banner is Christ. So the problem is a lot of Jews, how should I say, not so much the Jews, but their leadership. Because if you remember the story, when Yahusha was heading into Jerusalem, he was riding the donkey, and the people were hailing him as king, and they would have taken him by force and made him king. So when they say the Jews didn't believe, no, they did. But the people who held power, they held a lot of power. You could get excommunicated and find yourself starving and homeless. So you had to kind of toe the company line. So the leadership who was jealous of him and also fearful of what the Romans might do if they realize, hey, there's a king other than Caesar. So anyway, yeah, in Judea. Anyway, so you know the story. We won't go all into that one. But here's Paul going up into, or actually proposing to go up into Spain, because he knew his people were there. Everywhere he went, he taught in the synagogues. So he was finding Hebrews everywhere he went. And so the Gentile churches, or the church, I don't like that term because church literally just means circle. And that term, circle, is a pagan, if you will, it's a pagan circle of oratory, meaning their speakers would speak in the round. So they called it a circle or church. And King James insisted that the term Kodashim, basically, or the assembly of the called out ones, that term would be changed to church, right? Instead of assembly, he was making it kind of a building, right? You know, politics coming in there, right? And also, King James was a Freemason, and one of the most important symbols in Freemasonry is the circle. Go figure. I won't dive into that, but I want you to understand, King James was no Boy Scout. I could tell you a lot about King James. There's a lot of history on him. But that being said, I'm not trying to drag him down or the King James version of the scriptures. That tends to be my favorite version, by the way. But you got to also know where all the little mistakes are. And if they were even mistakes, some things you figure they put in there on purpose. The fact that they cover up the name of the Most High 7,000 times in the King James Bible, and I'm not just faulting him. They all kind of did it. Instead of saying Yahweh, they would say Lord. Instead of saying Elohim, they would say God. Now, God being a pagan entity, and Lord, well, that's the word Baal literally means Lord. And wasn't Israel kicked out of the promised land for worshiping Baal or the Lord? Then you got to ask yourself, why would you change the name? That's literally goes against all the protocols of translations. You never, ever translate a name. The only name they picked on was the name of the Creator and his Son. You notice Peter is still Peter. Well, the translation of Peter is rock. Why didn't they, if you want to translate it into English, why didn't they call Peter rock? But no, there's a reason they did this. There's also a reason they invented the letter J. These are no accidents. The name of the Most High was being covered up. And whether they thought they were doing a good work or not, I don't know. But they covered it up. And for some strange reason, it's only now that it's becoming a big thing. So for 2,000 years, even though he told you his name 7,000 times, it's covered up, right? So what I want to do in this video, I digress a little bit, but what I want to do is look at Iberia from Roman eyes. And the best way to look at Iberia from Roman eyes, I think, is the Apostle Paul, a Roman citizen. So let's dig into it. There's a lot to unpack here. And just stick with me. I got a lot more videos on this subject, and it's going to get strange. Hey, this is the right place for it. Stranger Thinking Media, right? So let's do it.
The Apostle Paul is a giant of early Christianity. He journeyed tirelessly, spreading the message of Jesus. His travels almost always included a new destination, the heart of the Roman Empire. Paul's letters mention a plan to visit Spain. This is found in Romans chapter 15, verse 28. Did he ever make it? The Bible doesn't say. This mystery makes us ask exciting questions. Could Paul have reached Spain? What would early Iberian Christianity look like? We can explore the historical possibilities. The answers might surprise us. The Iberian Peninsula has a long, rich history. It was never isolated. This region, known for its diverse landscapes and strategic location, has always been a melting pot of cultures and civilizations. People and cultures have crossed its borders for millennia. From ancient traders to migrating tribes, the Iberian Peninsula has seen a constant flow of human activity, each leaving its mark on the land. One group with ancient ties to Iberia, the Hebrews. Their presence in this region is a testament to the interconnectedness of ancient civilizations. They were there long before Paul's time. The Hebrews established communities, engaged in trade, and contributed to the cultural mosaic of Iberia. Their presence dates back to the Babylonian exile. This period of forced migration saw many Hebrews seeking new homes, and Iberia became one of their destinations. The word Iberia itself may hold a clue. Some scholars suggest that the name Iberia could be derived from the Hebrew word Iber, meaning the other side or across. It might be linked to the word Hebrew. This linguistic connection hints at the deep historical ties between the Hebrews and the Iberian Peninsula. This connection hints at a deep relationship. The Hebrews were not just visitors, they were integral to the region's development. The Hebrews were not just passing through, they established roots, built communities, and became an essential part of Iberian society. They became part of the cultural fabric of Iberia. Their influence can be seen in the art, language, and traditions that have shaped the region over centuries. This presence sets the stage for Paul's potential visit. Understanding the deep-rooted Hebrew influence in Iberia provides context for the historical and cultural landscape Paul would have encountered. The Romans were masters of the ancient world, known for their military prowess, architectural marvels, and expansive empire. Their empire stretched across vast territories, from the British Isles to the sands of Egypt. Iberia, the land we now know as Spain and Portugal, was no exception. The Romans called it Hispania, a name that would echo through the annals of history. It was a land of diverse people and abundant resources, from fertile lands to bustling marketplaces. The Romans were particularly drawn to its mineral wealth, including gold, silver, and other precious metals, as well as its strategic location along key maritime routes. Roman writers and historians meticulously documented their interactions with Iberia, providing us with invaluable insights. Prominent figures like Julius Caesar, the geographer Pomponius Mela, and the historian Tacitus all mentioned Hispania in their works. These accounts give us glimpses into Roman perceptions and their strategic interests in the region. They saw Iberia as a land of immense potential, ripe for conquest and integration into the Roman world. The region was soon transformed by Roman influence, with cities, roads, and amphitheatres springing up, showcasing Roman architectural and cultural prowess. This context is crucial for understanding Paul's possible journey through Hispania, as he would have traversed a landscape deeply imprinted by Roman civilization. He would have been walking into a Roman world, a place where the echoes of Roman footsteps and the marks of their empire were ever present. Section 4, Echoes of Paul in Iberia. Paul's visit to Spain is not confirmed. The Bible is silent on the details, but the absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. It's possible that Paul's journey had an impact. Early Christian communities in Iberia might have been influenced by his teachings. We are still uncovering the story. There are tantalizing hints and whispers. Some scholars speculate about lost letters. Could Paul have written to Iberian churches? Imagine the discoveries if such letters were ever found. The possibility fuels our imagination. Section 5. Unwritten Chapters, Unfolding History. History is not a static thing. It is a dynamic and ever-evolving narrative that we continue to piece together. It is a living story constantly being written and rewritten. Each discovery, each new piece of evidence adds another layer to our understanding. As we uncover new evidence, our understanding of the past evolves. The process of discovery is meticulous and often painstaking, but it is also incredibly rewarding. The mystery of Paul's Iberian journey is a reminder of this. It shows us how even the smallest clues can lead to significant revelations. We may never know for sure if Paul set foot on Iberian soil. The debate continues, fueled by both historical texts and modern interpretations. But the search for answers is as valuable as the answers themselves. It drives us to explore, to question, and to learn more about our shared history. It leads us on a fascinating journey through time. Each step we take, each artifact we uncover, brings us closer to understanding the lives of those who came before us. Along the way, we encounter the rich tapestry of cultures that shaped early Europe. These cultures, with their unique traditions and innovations, have left an indelible mark on history. And we learn that history is full of surprises waiting to be uncovered. Each discovery not only answers old questions, but also raises new ones, keeping the quest for knowledge alive.
I can only bring you the truth. 2 Ezra chapter 13, verse 40 to 45. Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king, whom Salmanassar the king of Assyria led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land. But they took this counsel among themselves, that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never a mankind dwelt, that they might there keep the statutes which they never kept in their own land. And they entered into Euphrates by the narrow places of the river. For the Most High then showed signs for them, and held still the flood till they were passed over. For through that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half, and the same region is called Arsareth. So there you have it. the book of Second Esdras, as we discussed in the other videos, the two videos prior to this, is a land where never a man dwelt. But remember, they had to make this journey, so they're passing through other lands on their way to this, some say, mythical Arsareth. But was it mythical? And what path did they take? How did they get there? However they were going to get there, they were going to have to pass through somebody else's lands. And did they all make it to their final destination, or did they just go, hey, let's settle here? Well, there's a lot to unpack there. But the Apostle Paul wrote specifically to these areas, knowing full well that the Hebrews were there. And again, I want to emphasize, Christians get this totally, you get it totally wrong. When you read especially if you read the King James Version, I'm going to stick with that because that's the version I tend to read from. Take the term church out of there. It's a term that was embedded. It's a placeholder. You have to take it out. Use this term instead. Kodashim is Hebrew word, which means essentially the called out assembly, the selected ones, the peculiar ones, if you will, meaning the ones God chose, the called out assembly, called out of this world to the faith of Yahushua HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ, right? The one you call Jesus the Christ, right? So call him Kodashim. And when you do that, the understanding comes back. We're talking about a people who are believers in the Messiah, in Christ, that have been called out of the world, right? Not some building or something. So keep that in mind. Keep that in your head. And so when you understand that, who were the people? Well, Paul was one of them, and he was an Israelite, right? Peter was one of them, and he was a what? You got it, an Israelite. They were all Israelites. Whether they called themselves Jews or not, depends on what tribe they came from or whatever. And sometimes colloquially they were called Jews because they came from Judea, But the whole point is the Kodashim at this moment in time were pretty much all Israelites. So the question is, did that ever change? Well, if you talk to the average Christian, that's the Old Testament. Well, when Paul was writing and preaching, there was only the Old Testament, which should tell you that all truth is embedded in the Old Testament, because that's what Paul was using to teach the Kodashim, right? Remember, we're getting away from that word church. So he was talking to the Kodashim. And where did he look for the Kodashim? He went to the synagogues, whether in Galatia, Ephesus, or wherever. He's going to the synagogues looking for Israelites. Because you remember that the Messiah was come to save his people, Israel. So where did the Gentiles come in? Now remember, Israelites that had fallen away from their heritage were numbered among the Gentiles. They were called Gentiles also. But the Jews had kept, the understanding, knowledge of Yah, and so they created synagogues everywhere they went, and some of the Israelites came back. So, in other words, you always have a remnant, right? But even those who totally forgot themselves and became totally Hellenized and were reckoned among the Gentiles, they were also called Gentiles. And there are many Bible dictionaries that will show you that, if you're a Hebrew, an Israelite, and you completely fall away, you are now reckoned among the Gentiles. So is that to say that only the descendants of Israel are part of the called out assembly? Well, it says that in Abraham's seed, the Gentiles will be blessed, right? Well, because what happened in Israel, the reason they were dispersed amongst the nations is essentially create a light amongst the Gentiles. So to make sure that everybody could hear and understand, the Jews were dispersed so that the knowledge of Yah would still be out there and would have to spread around the globe. And so somebody once said, and they got these characters out here and they're really, look, somebody said, well, you know that the teachings of the Christian church are totally wrong because why would Yah choose the Romans to spread his word? Look, think about this. If Paul does not go up into the mouth of the Roman Empire and preach, right? It's kind of a subterfuge. If it had just stayed in Africa and the Middle East, would we know about it today? Some people would, but it wouldn't have spread around the globe. The Roman Empire is a vehicle. It's a vehicle that was going to take over the entire world, and it has taken over the world today. You don't call it the Roman Empire, but it's the Roman Empire. As far as Yah is concerned, he's looking from his throne, and these nations that have essentially taken control of the earth, he doesn't blink. It's been this 2,000 years have been like a second, not even a second to him, like a split second, a nanosecond to him. He's still seeing the Roman Empire. You could call it whatever you want, but it's the same group of nations acting as one, dominating the earth, right? And that's what he sees. So, but that was the plan. He sat back and allowed this, right? The Roman beast would encompass the globe. Yes, they would. Their power is everywhere. You could see it by this recent medical emergency that happened over the last few years, that they can impose their will on the entire globe. That's never happened before. But we won't go all off on a tangent. I just want you to understand that the best vehicle to spread the gospel was the Roman Empire. They're global. And they're the only ones that really can say that. They're in every nation, literally. And the gospel follows them. I'm not saying they're a bunch of Boy Scouts, and I'm not saying their doctrine is pure. But the knowledge of Yahusha and the gospel of the Christ has gotten to every nation, right? I'm not saying everybody's heard it, but I'm just saying that was a vehicle used. And when the Roman Empire made it into the New World, it was similar to Israel entering the Promised Land. But you got to understand also who is amongst who the children of Israel are embedded inside that Roman Empire. I mean, there are a lot of places, but just because you are of a certain religion doesn't mean you're not an Israelite. You could be a Muslim and still be an Israelite. It's an ethnicity, right? It's a lineage. It's your father's 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 father. I don't care what religion you are today. You could be Muslim. You could be into Judaism. You could be Christian. But the question is, are you an Israelite? And so in these last days, the Israelites are starting to wake up and understand who they are. And it coincides, of course, with the internet and the ability to gain knowledge without having to go through you can Google this stuff and all sorts of stuff will pop up. And some things you'll start piecing things together and it'll become obvious. So things like the name of the creator is coming out. Oh, wait a minute. You mean his name is not God? No, you don't say hallelujah God. You say hallelujah, right? You don't say come by Jesus. You say come by Yah, right? Yeah. So he has a name. He told Moses, Ahaya Asher Ahaya. And then Moses told the children of Israel, Yahweh. So Ahaya Asher Ahaya means I am that I am, denoting I just exist. I am eternal. Moses comes down the mountain and says, Yahweh. He just exists. Third person, right? He just exists. He just is. He will be. You know what I'm saying? That's what it means, eternality, right? Whether it's the first person or the third person, Almost 7,000 times they use the third person because obviously none of us are Yah, so we should speak of him in the third person, which would be Yahweh, right? Anyways, that being said, the Roman Empire was the perfect vehicle to spread this word. But of course, the wheat and the tares grow up together, so you have the Babylonian influence also being preached. This is on so many different levels. I mean, you have Babylon and the Torah growing up together, being spread around the globe, whether in the form of the Bible, the Old Testament and the New Testament, right? And they're competing. And so far, up till now, Babylon has appeared to be winning. So you have people observing Babylonian traditions such as Sunday, Christmas, Easter, Ishtar, right? Ishtar. And Halloween. You got all these Babylonian traditions, and they've been holding more weight, But now you see the appointed times of the Most High Yahweh being observed all over the world. The Feast of Tabernacles, Yom Kippur, or the Day of Atonement, Yom Teruah, which is the Feast of Trumpets. You start seeing that now gain traction all around the world in all sorts of communities. So there's two competing factions. Remember, in Babylon, they used brick for stone. So what's a brick? A man-made stone. So what's Babylon's system? It's man-made religion, mimicking, trying to replace Yah. No. That's a stone. We're going to use brick, man-made stuff. We're making our own gods and our own religions, But anyway, I digress. So let's continue on. We're kind of going to start to close this thing out, but I just want you to understand that these things are ancient things, and the wheat and the tare growing up together. And so don't be shocked by Yah using the Roman Empire to push his agenda. At the same time, Babylon is using the Roman Empire to push their agenda. The system of Rome is Babylon, the daughter of Babylon. And until the reapers come to pull out the tares and burn them, and to gather the wheat into the barn, right? They grow up together because you kind of can't. It's hard to tell one from the other, right? So they're talking about systems, they're talking about people, they're talking about nations. It's a lot going on there. So on that note, we're going to close this thing out. I love you all so much. Thank you so much for continually supporting my content. If you did enjoy this video, hit the thumbs up button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell, and share this with your friends and family. I'm sure they'd find it interesting as well. I'm very excited to continue this journey with you, and I thank you all for bringing certain stories to my attention and for continually keeping me updated with certain events around the world. I very much appreciate you all, and shout out to the channel members. I appreciate you more and more each day. Thank you so much. And may everybody have a beautiful and blessed day who's in the body of Messiah, Yahusha HaMashiach. And I'll see you all in the next video as we continue this topic, which I really enjoy this topic. So stick with us. And shalom, family. Shalom.